Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Jiayanu, Pakhair Ragale, Ni Hao, Chunashumme, Washmale, Ohio Gonzalez, Guten Morgen, Privyet. Hola, bonjour. Hi, hugs and hellos, and a very amazing Khoshamadi to everyone who's tuned into PT1 and watching well this morning, alongside the very white Maha Makhdoom and the very green Shazad Khan. Hello, Maha, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, Shazad. I'm very good. And I'm surprised you haven't disappeared with the screen because normally, people just.
Yeah, this is what happens when you're sitting in front of a chroma set. But I think I just got lucky, or probably I had the sense that which green is actually going to get chroma.
Yes, you had the sense because you decided what you were wearing today. But anyway, so Shazad, we have a very important show.
Yeah, we do have a very important show, but there's just one more thing which I want to say, and that is that the only reason why I carried a black waistcoat with me was so that at least, my head's not floating and I can button up.
Yeah, but okay, let's
So it's September 21st today, Maha.
Yes.
And that's why we are saying that it is a very important day. In fact, the entire month is very important too as well. And you are going to tell us why.
Yes, it is. It's Alzheimer's Day today, and it's actually the Alzheimer's month. And for the last few years, we on our show have been trying to highlight and give you information and the importance about this disease. Now, Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia that people suffer with. This is from my research. We have experts. They are going to probably correct me if I'm wrong. It is mainly problems with memory, and the symptoms are that it's a slow developing illness, and it gets disease, and it gets worse over time.
And the problem over here, ladies and gentlemen, is that whenever you rectify a problem, obviously you have to remember it. But what can you do about a problem which you cannot even remember?
And the thing is, there are different symptoms, there are different reasons. The thing is, there's no cure, but there are treatments and ways to manage it and to slow it down. And actually, there's even something called early onset dementia, which 5% of people from dementia are suffering from. And it's people from the ages of 40 to 50. So, a lot of, not you, because you're our Dorian Gray, but a lot of us are going towards these ages. And, we need to be aware of what's the situation out there. However, today we're not going to be talking about the medical aspect. It's the people that are the caregivers, the people that manage them, that are providing the support for these people to try and live as normal life as possible.
And I think that I'm going to look towards the positive side as well, ladies and gentlemen, because earlier there were only two Alzheimer's centers over here in Pakistan, one in Lahore and the other in Rawalpindi, but now luckily we have one in Karachi as well, one in Peshawar. So you can see that we are probably on the road to success, or probably moving towards making people aware of the fact that this is what you need to do. Because for caregivers, Maha, I think it gets very difficult at times, and we have seen that the type of household we live in, joint family system, mother-in-laws, and then your son's wife is probably looking after her. But now eventually what happens is that there are other people who are actually seeing from a distance, see that probably they're not looking after them very well. But now that's what I'm saying, that you can only rectify a problem if you remember it.
Yeah.
So the problem is that you don't remember it.
Yeah, and another thing is that we want to give more support to the people who are actually involved in the caregiving, because you guys are at the front line. Externally, everyone has an opinion, and we need to silence those voices, because that's where the stigma and the negative aspect of it comes. And a lot of us, we hide our symptoms. But let's move on to our public service message.
Yeah, we'll definitely move on to our public service message. But one more thing which I would love to add over here, and that is that, ladies and gentlemen, as we say that we are going to make you aware. Obviously, first of all, we have to be aware of the facts. So quite a lot of research goes down to it. There are earlier, if you catch on upon the symptoms as well, then there are processes with which you can delay the process of getting worse and worse and worse day by day.
Yeah.
So listen very carefully. So let's move on to our public service message, and let's see what do we have to say today.
Okay, so our public service message is linked with exactly our introduction. It is we're focusing on the caregivers today. So if you have, if your wife or your husband or your brother or your sister or your cousin is looking after someone within the family, or someone who's suffering with this disease, judgmental and opinions, they can be kept aside, because what they need is support. It's a very intense environment. It's a 24/7 job. It's a thankless job as well. The people around you are not going to thank you. The person who's suffering isn't going to be able to thank you. But people are watching, God's watching, and also your own soul. So our message is that support the people that are providing the care, and don't give them too much pressure, because they too, have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders.
Exactly, and taking advantage of the opportunity. I think we've had a case in our household as well. My grandmother actually suffered from this disease, may her soul rest in peace, as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, it can get so worse that even if you have eaten food just now, after 5 minutes, you don't even remember that you have eaten food. Now, for example, if somebody is visiting and the grandparent says to someone that they don't even feed me food, I haven't had food. So then the expression of that guest might be different, but now for all those caregivers who were there, they get shocked too. So
Yeah.
you just have to be patient, and thumbs up to all my chachis who've actually put in quite a lot of hard work.
Wonderful. So Shahzad, let's introduce our guest and get the show started.
So on my right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, we have been joined by Brigadier Munawar Ahmed Rana, and he's the president APRC, which is the part of Alzheimer's Pakistan and affiliated with Alzheimer's Disease International UK. Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you very much. I'm fine.
Thank you very
Thank you
much
for
for
being
coming
here.
over. Thank you very much for joining us on such a special day. And alongside Mr. Brigadier Munawar, we have been joined by Major Mia Abdul Basit, who is the General Secretary and founder APRC. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
very
joining
much for joining
us.
us. So let's start with highlighting the importance of this day.
Yes.
All right. First of all, you people have given such an excellent start to this show.
When you have good guests, the pressure is on to give a
And,
good
so
introduction.
our job is much more easier than this. So therefore, the importance of the day is already given by you.
Okay.
You have to make people aware as to what it is. And this is more particularly important in Pakistan because people aren't aware of this disease. And it gets lost in the myriad of other explanations. For example, they say, "Ki ji, the old man has started forgetting, or the old man has got rigid, or his behavior pattern is not correct." So it gets lost in those things.
Okay.
And as a result, people who are the caregivers, they don't focus on to the problem, they start focus on to the apparent symptoms of the behavior.
Okay.
And sometimes they don't understand the behavior, and then their reactions aren't good. So therefore, it's so important that people become aware of this disease, especially those who are the caregivers, because the one who's suffering, he is not aware of anything.
Exactly.
So therefore, the one who's got to do the caregiving, this program is meant for them, so that they listen
Absolutely.
properly and get out of that.
Okay, so let's start with the first question, which is important for every caregiver. Understanding dementia. What is dementia before we get into Alzheimer's?
Dementia, in fact, this is you can say in simple word as forgetfulness.
Okay.
And Alzheimer's disease is the type of dementia which causes problem with memory, thinking, behavior, and ability to perform daily activities.
Okay.
This illness is progressive, as you have earlier mentioned, and unfortunately there is no cure. The world doesn't know the cure, a definite cure. However, the related effects can be managed.
All right.
The psychiatric effects can be managed
Okay.
by proper medication and through doctor's advice. It really affects people with 65 years age and above,
Okay.
generally.
Generally.
However, there are certain cases of early dementia also, early onset, as you mentioned, between 40 and 65.
Okay.
The symptoms are mentioned in our pamphlet that you
Okay,
can
great.
you
We've
have
got some on the
displayed here.
table.
Yeah.
There are 10 important signs which are given on this pamphlet. However, there are certain
Pamphlets. Let's get a shot of the pamphlet, guys. That are on the
Yeah,
table.
they're here.
There's one
Yeah,
in
they're
Urdu and
definitely
one
going
in
to read
English.
them out as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are certain symptoms which we must understand. First, I will talk about psychological
Okay.
symptoms.
Yeah. So let's move on to the symptoms.
Yeah. Apart from memory, the man suffering from Alzheimer may be very agitated. He may become very aggressive. He may become very depressed, and he may be paranoid. He may be suffering from hallucination or delusions, etc. So these are certain psychological sort of symptoms. If you find these symptoms in your dear ones, well, you should worry about that person. He may be suffering, or he or she may be suffering from Alzheimer's
Okay.
disease. And there are other physical symptoms
Yeah,
also.
that's what I wanted to ask.
Yes, like wandering. That's the symptom which appears first. The patient suffering from Alzheimer's disease would like to wander, walk around, and generally people stop such kind of activity. it should not be. And then he may become weak because he would stop eating much. He would not take the appropriate diet. So he would become weak. And then there would be certain other chronic disease symptoms like sugar, like heart disease,
Okay.
like arthritis, etc. So those may also become more pronounced because the man cannot or the patient cannot explain that he's suffering from
Okay.
these symptoms. So they may also become very pronounced. These symptoms generally are more visible, more pronounced in the evening during the day, and we
Okay.
call it sundowning.
Okay.
That's the time that we must watch the patient because all along the day he gets exhausted and his stamina to resist or to bear these fatigues minimizes at
Okay.
that time. So these symptoms,
Okay.
they appear more.
Okay, so let me ask you, because as we mentioned, our primary aim this show is to give as much information for the caregivers. Now, we've just had a very in-depth layout of the symptoms, physical and psychological. But for a caregiver, sir, I'd like to ask you this. How do we pick up on these symptoms? Because for a caregiver, if it's your daughter or your daughter-in-law or a stranger looking after you, they're just going to be like, oh, you're being difficult, oh, use your brain, don't be forgetful. So how do we equip the carer or give them this knowledge that actually this is part of the disease?
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's very simple. I mean, the people at home who are all potential caregivers, because
Yeah.
almost in every other home there's a problem like this.
Yeah.
So they have to know, they have to become aware, they have got to read up, they have got to listen to programs like this,
Okay.
and they have got to do their own research.
Okay.
And be sensitive about the whole thing.
Okay.
And also, one other thing which they must have is, number one, loads of patience. And before that, they should never be judgmental about old people. Anybody crossing 60 and his behavior becomes a bit difficult or different, they should never be judgmental. And they should never assign that to some level of
Craziness.
home politics.
Okay, home
home
politics.
politics.
Okay.
Mother-in-law, son-in-law, brother-in-law, and so on and so forth. Because in our country that's very common. And people assign that reason and consign it to the side.
Yes.
So if you stop becoming judgmental and having a look at the person, being sympathetic towards what he's doing, then that is probably the first step that the people can do. Now, all what this means is that from early on, especially the women at home, even the young women at home, need to know this, because it is the young woman, the young daughter-in-law or the young daughter who is likely to be looking after the aging parent or the aging parent-in-law.
Absolutely.
So this is something which you have to start knowing right from the beginning.
Right.
So it's not simply awareness, it is more than that. It is simply getting to have the deep knowledge of the symptoms, as Mia Sahib said.
Okay.
Understanding all those things and relating them to the other sort of behavior. It's not easy. We all have problems at home. We all have such people at home. No, I'm not saying such people, but such relatives, of
Yeah.
course, important relatives at home. I mean, he's got an example, I've got an example. That's why
We
we
all
are
have
here in the
examples,
APSC.
yeah.
So we have got all this, and interestingly, there are people at home who refuse to understand the change, who are not sympathetic towards it. They are judgmental immediately, and they put in the politics into the whole thing, and the thing goes away. So it's a question of knowing the symptoms in detail and studying them, and also being aware of such problems in any other home,
Exactly.
and then talking to them sympathetically.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, that's
so
a very
that's
valid point which you have made. But now over here, I think the problem which every household has is that if they haven't experienced such a personality, it gets difficult for them to judge a person in the first place. And you were very right that that home politics comes in, that budde ko kya ho gaya,
Oh,
budda satka to nahi gaya.
Absolutely.
And these things are very harsh to hear for
Yeah.
that person who's actually been looking after you for the past 60 years. So it gets difficult for them, and I think it's going to have adverse effect on their personality and on the disease itself. Now, I think what we need to do is that we need, for example, we shared the symptoms. But I think what we need to tell people is that they have to look around and see and then observe without being without discriminating that, you know, oh, he's my father-in-law or he's my father. So I think that's what we need to do. We have to probably just always be vigilant about it.
Yes.
Because for somebody who's actually gone through this will know it.
That's true.
But for somebody who does not know it, what do we do about that?
That's true.
So what do we do?
That's true. That's true. Somebody who doesn't know about it, well, you have given the answer, and that is that he's got to be observant, he's got to read up, he's got to know, and then the basic point is you've got to have a respectful, sympathetic heart towards other people.
Yes.
You don't have that, you will overlook so many things. If you have that, you will see that person from his point of view,
Yes.
and not from your point of view. So that's the most important thing. And one aspect of this, which of course comes to us from the Quran or from our own religion, is that when your parents get old, be kind to them, just like they were kind to you when you were young. So that kindness encompasses a lot of things.
No, but
And
the
as you
confusion arises. Sorry, I'm barging. The confusion arises. What if somebody was doing it on purpose?
Yeah, it is mistaken.
Yeah.
There are symptoms, even in Alzheimer's, in which the person starts doing it on purpose. That's true.
Yeah.
Because as a defensive mechanism, or as a purpose of getting more attraction, or as a purpose of making people attracted towards them to care for them, to seek more attention, there are people who start doing it.
Okay.
And there are many people who were wise in their lives, all lives, but they start doing this at that time. Now, at that time, you have to understand that this person who is old and he's doing it now, it appears that he is doing on purpose, but actually it is not in his control.
Okay.
In actual fact, it's not in control because
Involuntary behavior.
Yeah, because the point to understand is that if the person has been wise and nice all his life,
All right.
does he get mad all of a sudden to start doing these things, not caring about his own reputation? No, it isn't. So therefore, if a person appears to be doing it deliberately,
Even then
That's
you
a
have
sign.
to.
even then you have to see. And if that deliberate happens on again and again, then it is not deliberate, it's not in his control. It may be appear to be deliberate, but it isn't. So therefore, it has got to be a very sympathetic heart, non-judgmental. That's the basic thing. And वो जो हमें मज़े में बताया गया है कि अपने parents को उफ तक ना करो. Now that उफ तक ना करो is for normal, healthy parents aging. But it also points out to the other thing, because they appear to be healthy physically, apparently,
Okay.
but mentally, just like the body is deteriorating, so is the mind.
Okay.
So therefore, you've got to see that.
And we need to build up on this, how to create a gentle and empathetic heart as well, which we're going to discuss. But let's go for a short break. And when you come back, we're going to continue the conversation. And I have a really important question, which I'm going to ask after the break. Stay tuned.
Good morning. Keep your minds open. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for everybody who just got tuned into PTY. You watch World this morning alongside Maha Maktoum and Shahzad Khan. Today, ladies and gentlemen, is 21st of September. We are observing World Alzheimer's Day, and September is known to be the month of Alzheimer's.
Exactly, because this is something that is really, a lot of people are suffering from it. The figures within Pakistan, we don't really have accurate figures, but then we don't have many accurate figures for most things here. So, but I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's kind of true.
And today, definitely, the show is all about caregivers as well.
Exactly.
Because the guy or the person who's actually suffering from Alzheimer cannot really do anything about it, or about himself, or about herself. So it's all about the caregivers, and that's what we're doing.
And it's not just, the caregivers, the environment, the society, because if you have someone who's suffering from an illness or a disease roaming the streets, you should be sensitive and educated enough. I'm not talking about writing and going to university, educated in the humanitarian sense that you help them out. Now,
Exactly. And one more thing, very sorry,
quickly.
just to very quickly mention, and that is that one more problem which I have experienced myself and witnessed to, and that is that one of my friend's younger brother had Alzheimer.
Oh no.
All right, so what happened was that you very correctly said that, by evening, they get their energy. So what happened was that they used to live in Murray because of the fact that, the state he was in. So what he used to do was he used to leave the house, and then all night and all day you will just look around to find him. Now what to do? So I think his father was a doctor, and he was lucky enough that, he knew things. So what he did was that he got a tracker, got it fixed in his leg, and now they can locate it. So for all those people who are out there, if this is the problem you're going through, it's a very cheap solution, but at least it'll minimize your tension.
I don't know if we should be laughing at that, but that's one way to manage a situation in an environment,
how else
maybe,
then?
which is not easy.
Imagine that, a guy started walking from Murray and makes it to Islamabad.
Yeah,
That's quite innovative, getting that.
That's very
thing over there.
innovative, but
So it's a good idea.
tracking, marketing,
And if you
tracking
want to
people.
know where you can get the tracker from, write to us.
Oh yeah, that's we're treading on a very fine
business
line there.
idea now.
Fine line. Okay, so now earlier we were talking, as you mentioned, sir, that having the information available to know what this person is going through can help increase the sympathy and understanding of the person's suffering. And like you mentioned very aptly, that people need to do their research, they need to read. You need to do your research. However, within Pakistan, and you represent Rawalpindi chapter, not everyone can read and write. Not everyone has access to the internet. So how are they supposed to sensitize themselves, like in the villages? What would be your recommendation? Anyone?
Well, it's a tough question actually because.
Sorry, it
first
just
of all,
occurred to me when you were
it's a
talking
very
about
tough
it.
question because the truth is that people aren't aware,
Yeah.
and the truth is that people don't know, and the
Okay.
truth is that people don't have access to any other information than what is spoken to them.
Yeah.
So the answer is that the organizations such as ours, it becomes stronger.
Okay.
It is supported by the medical fraternity. It is supported by the social fraternity, social welfare fraternity, and we reach out. And we reach out. That's the answer. We
Okay.
reach out to them. And reaching out to them means, such a program, of course, will not go to the rural areas. It's in English language in any
Yeah.
case. For example, on the radio, we have been on the radio for a while telling people, but there's been very little.
Okay.
So the answer is reaching out to them, really.
Yeah, because it's so wonderful to see a Urdu booklet, because you don't tend to see the Urdu booklet.
Yeah, he's the one who's made it. He is the one who's gone through and made the booklet.
Excellent.
And he is the one who's written all these pamphlets. So these are there, which we go to places and we distribute them.
Okay.
But who will again read this and open it up? Till such time somebody is there to talk to them. So it's a question of reaching out.
Okay.
And the problem in reaching out is there because our organization at the moment, although we are about 8-9 years in the business, but there is a...
So then how do you reach out? We see these books, we do see these pamphlets as well. So how do you do it? I mean, obviously you have to come up with campaigns,
Yes,
with
that's right.
such days where you can create a ripple effect. Now, for example, what is your resolve for this 21st? I mean, today, what are you guys going to do? What is APRC doing?
Well, we have done a lot, and of course he'll tell you in more detail,
Sure.
because he's been the forefront of doing all those things.
All right.
So in the last 4 or 5 years, we have done a few things, and I think I'll probably ask Miyasab to
Yes.
Yes.
enumerate
Yes,
all
sir.
those things.
In fact, our efforts are going in two different spheres. One is the training, and the other is public awareness.
Training the caregivers?
Yes, train the caregivers, professional caregivers and family caregivers,
Okay.
and also young doctors and medical students.
Yes.
Because they are the people who are going to face the brunt of this epidemic
Yeah.
Okay.
in near future. And as you were talking about the awareness of people, particularly in rural areas, we organize walks, skits
Okay,
to
great.
attract people. Yes, in an open park, we organize skits and dramas to convey in very simple way, in a simple language, the impact of this disease. It's not normal aging. It's an illness.
Yes.
People must realize this.
Yeah. This is not normal.
This
Let's
is
just
not
make this
normal. This is
Yeah, okay.
this is a disease.
It's a
and
disease,
it must
okay.
be addressed. So this is how, and
Okay.
and of course through radio program and the television program, as you
Okay.
The
as you
seminars that we had
and
in-
yes,
the
seminar,
we had a
and
number of
then we also hold get-togethers of support group.
Okay, great.
That's very useful.
Okay. You mentioned about the training of medical students and
Yes.
doctors, which
Yes.
is imperative.
And since we are talking about symptoms as well, so just very quickly, since I was going through the book, I think I would love to read it out to people as
In
well.
English.
Yeah, obviously that's how
Thank
I'm going
you.
to do it. So, for example, the earlier symptoms can be that you feel body aches and pains, and then, for example, that you somebody gave you another medicine. Earlier you were on any other medicine, so it had some side effects, and then if you cannot sleep. Is a problem as well, and then constipation or feeling very hungry or not at all, and then if you're losing your eyesight, alcohol and drug abuse can be a cause of it as well, and having more tea, caffeine is actually a problem too. So please make sure that you keep these things in your mind. And this booklet is by APRC.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
No, that's wonderful. And it's in Urdu as well, so it can reach the masses. It's for the people of Pakistan. So you
I
yes.
would like to add two more things.
Okay.
You talked about the number of people suffering from Alzheimer's
Yes.
disease. Well, we have an estimated figure.
Okay.
About 1 million people, or more than a million
lot.
In
people
Pakistan?
in Pakistan
That's a
are
lot.
suffering from Alzheimer's disease.
Okay.
And we estimate that there are about 400,000 people suffering from Alzheimer's disease and living north of River Jhelum.
Okay.
So it's a big figure.
What we are responsible for.
And this
our area.
is with improved health care, the better life span, the figure is going to increase.
It's going to increase. You're an aging
So this
population.
figure of 1 million is just for Punjab or the APRC?
All over Pakistan.
All over
All
over
Pakistan.
Okay.
So now usually what happens is that, obviously now we have these 4 or 5 centers. Earlier it was just Lahore
Just
and Pindi. So you might be facing quite a lot of problem in terms of the capacity of the organization. So how do you think that you have developed the capacity to handle with more challenges, or what are the challenges now?
This is the challenge. This is the precise challenge, because Alzheimer's disease doesn't figure anywhere in the health priority of the government of Pakistan.
Okay.
Although there are so many people who are suffering, as Mia Sahib said, it doesn't figure anywhere. It doesn't figure anywhere because in our rural areas, in our constituencies, from where the politicians come from, this is not talked about.
Yeah.
Over there, it is just the old
It's
man
shame.
is. Yeah, it's just because the old man is now forgetting, and the old man has now become difficult. It is that. So it
Or
is
what
not.
uses of the old man now? I mean, this is one sentiment as well.
Yeah.
So how do you think that we're going to cover these challenges then?
No, it'll take time. It'll certainly take time. I mean, we are at it for the last 8-9 years, and we haven't stopped. Although, of course, and this is our effort. Well, Mia Sahib is the man who's made this organization.
Yeah.
And as far as we are concerned, when we have a problem in, let's say, we have a problem in funding and organizing, we have that. Because till such time you have funds, you can't proceed forward.
Yeah.
And all the funds that we have spent so far is come from his pocket, actually.
Okay.
He is the one who's done it voluntarily. So in the last 7-8 years, what APRC has done, apart from other things, is tell the people that we have no other agenda except caring for the caregiver. We have got no other agenda, no monetary stuff, no political stuff, no other personal stuff. So that, fortunately, in our own community of the Alzheimer's thing has been so far accepted.
Excellent.
And now we are at the stage in which we need people to come together with us and provide us more funds, or we get more funds and we go forward.
There's a huge segment of the population, as you mentioned, 400,000. And these are just guesstimates as
Yes,
well.
yes,
We don't
absolutely.
have proper figures.
No, we don't have.
Now, can we just highlight what are the consequences of not taking this seriously? What will become of Pakistanis if we don't take it seriously?
Well,
I'm sorry,
okay,
okay,
yeah,
sorry.
okay.
Yeah. One, that you'll have more number of patients.
Right.
It'll affect the quality of life of a large number of people, a big segment of society. Then it'll add to your financial burden. It'll have adverse impact on your economy, because once you have a patient in a family, the person who the caregiver has to cut down his work and then spend that time with the
So you have two
patient.
able
and
bodies
then
at
you
home.
have added expenditure on
Yeah.
additional medication and extra visit to the hospitals. And then, of course, the social problem, the stigma attached to this will also have its own impact.
Okay.
So it's going to be a monster, I would rather say, which will start sucking life and squeezing the
Yeah.
society. So it's not very simple thing.
Yeah, what will remain undocumented and unaccounted for, or not made into a numeral figure, is going to be the domestic upheaval in every home because of not understanding the whole thing.
Okay.
It will not be visible anywhere, but in every home where such a thing exists, it's going to be a domestic upheaval, and they'll suck the energy and the money out of the
We will definitely talk
Yes.
about it and how to recover from that and how APRC can be helpful for people. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have to go for a short break. Don't go anywhere. We're in midst of conversation about something which everybody needs to know. Good morning.
Welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we are observing Alzheimer's Day, but it's also Alzheimer's Month, where we're trying to raise awareness, not just about the disease itself, because this is not a natural aging disease. We're trying to raise awareness about the people that are providing the care and the ones that are at home looking after them 24/7.
And
So
then,
Shahzad has a question.
if in case you're looking for an organization who's actually going to guide you through and through, I think APRC over here for people who live in Punjab is going to be very sufficient and comfortable too. So now what happens is that, we have in between our conversation stated that, they train the caregivers as well, I mean professionals, and then people who are at home. But how, I think, is the question to be asked. So sir, anyone?
So we'll go to this.
About the caregivers, yes.
About APRC's role and you providing
And then
training.
what kind of trainings do you provide?
Yes.
Let's
What we
clarify.
do, in fact, first of all, I must say what we are. We are a non-profit organization. We were founded in 2009, and we are recognized by Alzheimer Disease International, a world federation of all national organizations. We operate north of River Jhelum.
Okay.
All people living north of River Jhelum can contact us and can benefit from us.
Okay.
We work for the welfare of Alzheimer patients and their caregivers.
Okay, excellent.
That's what we are doing.
Okay.
And our mission is to provide help and support services to both to patient as well as to the caregiver. And train doctors, young doctors and caregivers. And I had already mentioned that we are focusing on young doctors and medical students and students from students of behavioral sciences,
Okay.
the psychologists. And then we bring public awareness, advocacy, undertake limited research. Although we don't have adequate resources for the
course, yeah.
research, however, we still try to undertake limited research and we cooperate with other organizations.
Wonderful.
That's our mission.
Okay.
And what we have done or what we are doing now is we are collaborating with Benazir Bhutto Hospital Institute of Psychiatry, and then we are collaborating with Armed Forces Institute of Mental Health.
Wonderful.
We are also collaborating with the Psychiatry Department of Pakistan Institute of Medical Sciences.
Wonderful.
So these are the people who are very kind and are providing us assistance. The other, a few years back, we inaugurated a memory clinic also in Pakistan Institute of Medical Sciences.
Okay.
Well, we, as I said, we provide support to dementia people in diagnosis, in assisting them through medical support by, I mean, the related problems that a demented person may suffer, like depression, like agitation, etc. That can be managed by a good psychiatrist. So we try to help them in consultation with the psychiatrist. We organize awareness walks and other social events to bring about their public awareness. And we have established a center in Institute of Psychiatry in Benazir Bhutto Hospital.
Wonderful.
We have a small library there.
Okay.
And we welcome people to come there. We can carry out mini mental state examination over there for them. And we have written a book in Urdu, caregivers guidebook that you mentioned earlier, for home caregivers.
Okay, so now let's, so that's wonderful. So that's a broad range of what a APRC do. But now for the actual carers, because that's where we've dedicated our show today, what specific services, sorry, I couldn't think of the word, services do you provide the carers? I mean, what can a carer, a son, a daughter, a daughter-in-law, a son-in-law, if they call up or they come to you and they're like, I am out of, I'm at my wit's end, I'm stressed out, they're stressed out, I'm getting depressed, they're getting depressed. How do we manage this situation? I can't handle it because the society is judgmental. So it's a family secret. So how do I handle this patient?
Okay. Now, with respect to the caregivers, our main focus or our main methodology has been to hold seminars of having all those people attending them.
Right.
And so far, whatever seminars we have held, a sizable number of caregivers have come and attended that.
Okay, wonderful.
And they have related their stories. And when they relate a story, others listen. So the knowledge passes on. So that's the method of training. Otherwise, apart from that, they at the moment, there cannot be regular classes in the form of a class or a cater or a diploma or a course like that. It can't be there. It's physically not possible at the moment. And people aren't aware yet. So whoever came, we discussed the whole thing, and those sessions were lengthy. They were lengthy. We held them in the Institute of Psychiatry in Benazir. We also held a few in the Armed Forces Institute of Mental Health. And those gentlemen over there, I would like to name them. For example, Dr. Mawad Rana, who was supposed to be here today, but he couldn't be.
One of our favorite guests.
He gave us a huge amount of support for this book and for this institution when he was the head of the AFIMH. And then, of course, Dr. Fareed Minhas.
Yes, another great psychiatrist.
Yeah, that's right. And he also gave us a huge amount of support. He gave us a center in his place to run, which we are running. He's running it, and we are running that. He gave that. So that's the main vehicle in which we are doing that whole thing. Now, if somebody does contact us, which the number is given, which happens to be a number which Mir Sahab has got, which happens to be us, then, of course, we guide them to a certain person who can give a professional advice. Normally what happens is that people do confuse the Alzheimer's thing with the rest of the symptoms. I mean, we were there in Attak just 3-4 days back with a medical camp. And over there was one doctor who was collaborating with us, and therefore we held a medical camp starting from about 8-9 in the morning till about lunchtime. So about 40 people came. But out of those 40 people who came, they were all conflicting or confusing the Alzheimer's with the rest of the symptoms of aging or any other thing. I mean, they were confusing it with depression, for example, but it's got nothing to do with Alzheimer's, really. So since people don't know, so they come and see, so then we guide them and send them to the proper doctor. At that time, for example, in Attak, we had 3 other doctors sitting there. And so whenever they came and talked to him, he says, talk to him, talk to him, talk to him. So they talked to him, and they gave some medicines also, they gave some advice also, and they were on their way. So that's how it is. But once again, the main problem actually is this: people differentiating between Alzheimer's and aging
They're confusing
and
everything.
the simple dementia, because Alzheimer's is more than dementia, because it starts affecting the rest of the behavior. You know?
Exactly.
So that's the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's one thing, and I really like to, I think that's such a great idea to have these workshops where people come and share their stories. Also the fact that people knowing that they're not alone in this, and hearing someone else's story can also give you that motivation that, okay, we have something in common. It's a good feeling to know you're not alone.
We had a walk once in which
great.
in which a gentleman whose wife was suffering, and he was handling her, and he brought her along in a wheelchair.
Great.
And that happens to be one of our iconic photographs, actually.
Yes.
And we held a park in that park, what's
Jinnah
Park.
Jinnah
Jinnah
Park
Park.
in Pindi. वहाँ पर हमने की 2-3 किए थे वहाँ पर.
Right.
So one of them was this. So they came along. And they shared their whole thing, and people saw them, and we were careful. So that's how the whole thing is going to spread. So therefore,
Absolutely.
And thank you very much for
Thank you
doing
so
all
much.
of this as well. I think that's good. That's a great service for the entire nation out
Yes.
there. And anybody who's out there and want any information, you can definitely write to us on our Facebook fan page. We'll definitely tell you the name. But thank you very much,
Thank you
gentlemen,
so much.
Thank you
for
indeed.
being over here.
And we
on
have a
such an
number you
important
wanted
day.
to share. The phone number?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you just
Any
share.
helpline?
Yeah. 0300
Okay.
0300
855
855
0506.
8550506.
That's right.
All right, thank you very much. So you can definitely call them and ask about whatever you feel like, but please make sure that you don't bug them unnecessarily.
Yes, exactly.
They're busy people.
thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
very much.
Always.
And so with that, if you want any more information on either the APRC or even Alzheimer's disease Pakistan or any of the information we talked about today, log on to our Facebook fan page,
Which is with the name of Well This Morning.
our Twitter page,
Well This Morning without a G.
our Daily Motion and YouTube page,
Well This Morning, Well This Morning.
and the repeat of that.
5 past 11 p.m.
Have a wonderful day, have a good day, and be kind to people, and we'll see you bright and early tomorrow
Till
morning.
the next time, 1, 2, 3, good
Good
morning.
morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.